What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show. And today I want to do something just a little bit different. I want to do a reaction video, but not like a reaction video you might expect. I want to do a reaction video to something of myself, reacting to myself. Is that a bad thing? A little egotistical, maybe? I don't intend for it to be so. What I want to do today, folks, is I want to do a reaction video to a book, kind of, that I wrote while in prison. I'm actually going to be reading you this entire book. Bear with me. It's only 15 pages long, more like a short story, something that I wrote while in prison about something that I've probably shared with you already here in the past, but you've never heard the book. We've never read this book. I haven't read this book, surprisingly enough, but we're going to be doing so here today. You're going to get a chance to see what old Joe writes like. And I got a feeling by sharing this with you guys, something that I wrote while locked up, it's going to bring back memories and things that I didn't necessarily remember when I shared it with you initially. Now, what I'm getting ready to share with you and what this is about a guy that we've talked about here before on After Prison Show by the nickname Coffee Man. And in fact, what you're looking at right here is pretty much an update on Coffee Man, and unfortunately where he has found himself. This mugshot right here is from down, ironically enough, in Mississippi. And for what I can remember, I'm pretty sure Coffee Man was from Virginia, so I don't know how he ended up down in Mississippi. He ended up with a couple of robbery charges, and he has a tentative release date of like 2040 something. Pretty unfortunate situation. Also, aside from this mugshot, hopefully I can find this, and I'm not just filming this for no reason, but also I want to show you this picture right here. This is a caricature that I drew of old Coffee Man. Pretty spot on, if I do say so myself. And what this story that I wrote is about something that Coffee Man did while we were locked up together. Something that I encouraged him to do. Pretty crazy. I might be looking like the bad guy up in this video today, but trust me when I tell you, this is going to be damn entertaining, okay? Sometimes you got to play the bad guy or the devil's advocate in an effort for some damn entertainment. Now, for those of you who may have no idea who this Coffee Man character is, I'll give you a brief rundown real quick. Coffee Man was a guy who used to sleep in the bunk beside mine. Very weird guy, bald head, white dude, just weird. His crew, super weird at that. Didn't run with no gangs, but his posse, they were weird. These people included the likes of a guy nicknamed Serial Killer who just looked that way, had an ex-girlfriend that he was dying to reconnect with. No pun intended. A guy nicknamed the Panty Bandit. Let his nickname speak to why he had that nickname. Another guy by the name of Ernie, who we've spoken about here before. Ernie was a crazy old black dude up in the pod. Just a really weird dude overall. Had some mental issues, took like Thorazine or some kind of tranquilizer medication up in the prison. Used to do like the Thorazine shuffle after taking that medication. Basically walking around like a zombie from The Walking Dead. I share those people with you guys because that was Coffee Man's crew. He was super weird. How he got the nickname Coffee Man is because the guy was addicted to the yellow stuff right here. And it's speaking of this yellow stuff right here that brings us to what this whole story is about. You know, Coffee Man was a relatively okay guy, minus the fact that he was super weird, but he would do damn near anything for a cup of the yellow stuff right here. And I don't want to make that sound too crazy, even though I know I did. You know, the guy would wash dishes, wash clothes. He was a coffee addict. The addictive mentality, the addiction, you could just tell it was some sort of an addiction that probably led to him being locked up. Probably led to him being locked up this time as well. And, you know, sometimes that addiction or that addictive personality can resurface while somebody's locked up. They find other things to become addicted to. And coffee, most of the time, is probably the number one go-to, unless it's drugs, unless you can get something up inside of the jail or prison. Well, this one day, while Coffee Man and his crew were sitting behind me, I was drawing a cartoon. I was bored. And because of that, I came up with this idea. I'm not going to tell you any more about it. I want to share with you this story that I wrote while locked up that's actually for sale on Amazon right now. 99 cents, you can go buy this. It's an old prison pen pal of mine who got this published. All proceeds go to her, as they should. She's the reason why this damn thing got published. But for 99 cents, you can read this 15-page manuscript that I wrote while serving time. And it's crazy because even if you can't find this thing on Amazon, all you got to do is go on Google and search Coffee Man Challenge. And it's going to pop right up there, number one. That's a hell of a Google ranking to have right there. So we're going to read this. It's 15 pages. We're going to breeze right through this thing. And let me know what you guys think. And let's see what kind of reactions and what kind of old memories this is going to dredge up right here. Folks, I'd like to welcome you to Audible Books here on After Prison Show. And I hope that you enjoy. Page number 1. The title. Coffee Man almost dies during the coffee challenge. Joe P. Guerrero. Should have had a prelude to this, but that's the extent of page 1. Coffee Man almost dies during the coffee challenge. Trust me when I tell you, folks, this is gold. I am a bastard, a monster at times, in my quest to find something hilarious to laugh at while here in prison. Or as my bunkie Kenny said to me one night as I put the finishing touches on an idea I had just come up with a little while beforehand. My God, that's a long-ass sentence. And shout out to my old bunkie K. Weaver. I actually looked him up not too long ago, aka Sunshine, and unfortunately, he's locked up again. I wish I could have gotten in contact with him and had the opportunity to feature him on this channel. You guys would have loved this guy. An idea that was gaining momentum and speed with every new person who heard about it. My bunkie Kenny said to me, dude, you're the devil. Kenny was quite the religious guy as well, so pretty crazy that he called me that. So what was this idea that I had come up with that had me related to Lucifer himself? ... Well, as I was sitting in my bunk area drawing a cartoon, I had Coffee Man, Serial Killer, and a guy named Ernie all right next to me. We just spoke about those guys. But also, real quick, I forgot to mention this as well. It's important to share this story with you guys now because some of the people that we're going to talk about, actually like one other guy, that we're going to talk about in this, they've actually been featured here on After Prison Show. And wait till you see who it is. The idea must have come to me because I was bored and looking for some excitement. I asked all 3 of them if they would be willing to try and drink one whole bag of coffee in an hour. An entire bag of Keefy coffee in 1 hour. Do you think that you could do it? I'm thinking about doing a live stream in the near future to see if I can reenact what I offered to Coffee Man as a challenge. And how many cups of coffee do you think are in a 3-ounce bag of this Keefy coffee right here? Also, I wonder how much caffeine that actually equates to. If you drunk a whole bag of this, it probably equals meth. Just my thought. And without throwing it up either. So I asked all 3 of them if they would be interested in this. I said, hey, would you drink a whole bag of coffee in 1 hour? And you can't throw it up neither. I told them if they did this, I would give them an additional bag of coffee just for doing it. By the way, a quick side note. A bag of coffee has about 24 cups of coffee in it. So between the 3 of them, a whole bag would only have been about 8 cups to drink in an hour. That's not bad at all. Do you think that you could drink 8 cups of coffee in an hour? Now, if they did this collectively, all they had to do was drink 8 cups of coffee in 1 hour apiece. Oh, this was going to be so funny. These 3 characters geeked up, can't even blink, shaking and twitching and sweating and such. Would have made for some good cartoons to be able to draw, I'll tell you that. And they were going to get a bag of coffee apiece for doing this. So even though I was probably like an asshole for even thinking of this idea and trying to get them to do this, I was offering fair compensation for their troubles. At least I thought so. A bag of coffee ain't cheap, especially if you ain't got it like that. This could have easily been done by the trio, something that could have easily made each of them a free bag of coffee, even if they did throw it up afterwards. So long as they held that stuff down for 1 hour, I didn't care. Anything that happened after that, that's fair game. And why would these 3 even consider such a challenge? Well, because they're idiots, of course. I really don't like that I said that. But you know they were. I mean, you know, if there was an adjective to describe these 3 collectively, idiots isn't too terribly bad. And idiots are easily exploited here in prison. Ouch. We're going to need some major PR after that one right there. They will do pretty much anything for pretty much anything. And right then, I just wanted something to laugh at. Wow. Maybe I am the devil. You know, I'm kind of regretting sharing this story with you guys. This is not painting me out to be very nice at all. But hey, nobody's perfect, right? After expressing my eagerness to get this underway immediately, the trio disbanded entirely. Boy, that was a bar right there. The trio disbanded entirely. Immediately. After expressing my eagerness to get this underway immediately, the trio disbanded entirely. That was like some Eminem type syllables. Serial Killer and Ernie said no way, but Coffee Man, the lone failure in life of his own creed and carvats? I must have been reading the dictionary during this time. I've got no idea if that's even a real word, if that's a misprint, or what the hell I was going for right there. But Coffee Man, a lone failure in life of his own creed and cravats, had a effing name to live up to. His nickname in prison was Coffee Man after all. Man,
What?
Coffee Man said, I'll do it myself. That's what I'm talking about, Coffee Man. That dude was trained to go anything for a cup of the joe. I'll drink the entire bag by myself in 1 hour, he said excitedly and all too eagerly. This sounds like a damn James Patterson novel. I was beyond words witnessing the extreme level of ambition and motivation this little challenge had sparked for Coffee Man. I mean, never had I seen a guy so excited and ready to do anything in the entire year that he has lived in the bunk beside mine. And you know, as I think back on that right there, what I just read that I wrote while locked up, you know, that is true. That's something that I forgot about. Coffee Man really didn't have a lot of ambition unless a cup of coffee or some other caffeinated incentive was at stake. You need your dishes washed? Yeah, I'll do it. Oh, you'll give me a cup of coffee though? He's gonna be using scrubbing bubbles on them joints, which I think is poison if you use on your dishes. And never had I seen this guy so ... well awake, really. I mean, usually he sleeps 24/7. I literally watched as all of Coffee Man's drug monsters and demons were brought to the surface just merely at the prospect and thought of this challenge. I feel like an enabler. Coffee Man looked like there was a magical crack cocaine 8-ball being dangled right in front of his face. And his eyes were wow, and he was rapidly changing. I think I was going for his eyes were wide, and he was rapidly changing, transforming into what he had assuredly spent most of his life as. Brace yourself for the harsh reality. A junkie with junkie persona and mannerisms. Being 5 years separated from prison, I don't like using that terminology. I wish I would have said, being an addict with, an addictive persona and mannerisms. He became completely overtaken by his addictive mentality in its rawest form. And as someone who has battled addiction firsthand myself, it was truly scary watching this happen start to finish. Good point right there. I mean, for a long time in my life, I dealt with addiction. I was actively in addiction. And I've been probably 10 plus years, 13 years. Is that what it is? I did 7 years in prison plus 5 years that I've been home. 12 years separated from addiction. Am I still an addict? Some people say that you'll be an addict for the rest of your life. And maybe I will be, because there are days when, I'm not gonna lie, I'm tempted. With the contestant ready for the challenge, word spread like wildfire through the housing unit about what was soon to be attempted. And with that, concern was also raised for the safety and well-being of Coffee Man, a guy we all call the porno pastor. It actually says porno pasture. What's that, like where cows graze? The pastor. You guys know who I'm talking about right there? Paul, an individual who we featured probably like a year or two ago here on After Prison Show, and who we lost contact with, was actually in on the festivities that were getting ready to take place right here. He was here for this Coffee Man challenge. A guy we called the porno pastor here ran up and said frantically, "Don't do it, Coffee Man." And thinking back on this, Paul, gave me a lot to consider and put a lot of fear in me. He was like, "Joe, he's gonna die if he does this. You're going to die if you do this." Kind of ironic, that's the very next line. "I'm trying to save your life, bro." As I read this, it comes back to me vividly, flashbacks of Paul in Coffee Man's face. "Don't do this, man. You're gonna die, bro." And here I am, like the club promoter for this event, and I'm just like, oh my God, if he does this and that does happen, I'm gonna be held culpable for that. Another guy who we refer to here as Prison Med because he thinks he's some sort of a doctor or something, yet he has been locked up for like 20 years, but that's another thing for another time. Prison Med said that he guaranteed one of three things was going to happen. I'm trying to remember who the hell this was. For the life of me, I cannot remember who this is. Prison Med said that he could guarantee one of three things was going to happen. Coffee Man was going to go into cardiac arrest if he attempted to do this challenge. He was going to throw up. That was number 2. Or number 3, he was going to shit his brains out. I think it was going to be a mix between 2 and 3. I was definitely hoping number 1 was off the table. I figured 1 or 2 of the 3 would happen myself, but I won't lie. The "you're gonna die, bro" and cardiac arrest talk had me a little worried about this challenge. The hell with it, though. I was already too invested. I have no idea why I was, but I'm guessing it's because a lot of people were gathering around. This challenge idea and talk of this was starting to spread. There were people who were betting on this. This was like a boxing match that was getting ready to take place. The club was getting packed. I was the promoter, and there was no way I was backing down from this. Plus, I could already see how this was going to make for a great story to tell. Think about that. I wrote this over 5 years ago sitting in a prison, probably, 7 years ago from now, or maybe 6. Maybe I had like a year left to serve. I was writing this, and here I am, all these years separated, sharing this with all of you. Pretty crazy. And add to that, the entire housing unit was ready to see this challenge go down also. With all that being said, it began. Coffee Man had a strategy to pour about 4 cups of coffee into his first cup. It was a damn good strategy. Make that first cup super strong. He gunned that first cup down within a minute. He looked to have been feeling great at that point, confident too. Then, with his second serving, he poured almost half the bag of instant coffee into his cup. That was probably the second mistake that he made. The first one was engaging in this challenge. He also tried to drink this second cup at similar record speed as his first one, but that wasn't going to be physically or even humanly possible, not even for Coffee Man himself. Halfway through his second cup, everything changed. His whole demeanor changed. Coffee Man looked sick and began to sweat. He also couldn't stop looking at the bag of coffee that was being passed around in amazement by the large number of spectators who had gathered around for this event. I told you guys, the club was packed. It was also during this epic 10-minute time frame, during the very beginning of this 1-hour coffee extravaganza, that Coffee Man looked like he was going to lose it. He began to pale. His face turned as white as a bedsheet. He looked like at any moment he was going to throw up all over the place. But it was Serial Killer who came to his rescue and aid. During this turbulent time, it was Serial Killer who came through for Coffee Man, bringing him a wet rag to put on his head. Serial Killer then took on the role of Coffee Man's personal trainer, his personal coach. Like they were in the corner of a boxing ring between rounds. Through the pep talks and shoulder rubs, Serial Killer helps Coffee Man get over his initial food poisoning type phase. It's funny because when I first initially offered this challenge to the trio, and they all turned it down but Coffee Man, everybody skedaddled. They got up out of there. But as soon as Coffee Man went into this, Serial Killer came back because he knew that if Coffee Man completed this challenge, there was going to be his homeboy right there who he could get coffee from. Because Serial Killer, Coffee Man, and Ernie, they all had a couple of things in common. 1, they were all batshit crazy and weird. And 2, they really didn't have money, let alone coffee. So they either did chores in exchange for coffee or begged or waited on their state check to come and, were able to afford like 1 single bag per month. But, these guys drank coffee 24/7. It could be 11 o'clock at night and these dudes are drinking coffee. Coffee Man took a few minutes to regain his composure and then soon after he was back. He then downed the rest of the second gritty black tar sludge in his cup and was ready for his third. Half a bag of instant coffee in 1 cup, folks. If you can't picture what that looks like, try it. Take 1 sip of that. You're going to feel like you're zooted. This next cup he made took him right below the halfway mark. He poured a small amount of instant coffee into his cup. He also began to pace himself a little more with this cup, taking long measured swigs every so often while the beginning effects of extreme caffeine consumption could easily be seen in his demeanor. Coffee Man was shaking with every swig now and sweating just as much. The entire housing unit was gathered around watching as Coffee Man struggled to maintain his composure through this third and daunting cup. Some were gathered cheering him on, while others made gagging sounds encouraging him to throw up. But all were in awe of this real-life Mythbusters taking place right before their eyes. There was a large amount of people watching this, and there I was sitting there just as nervous, hoping that everything was going to work out and this dude was not going to need to get medevaced up off of this prison. Could a man drink 24 cups of coffee in 1 hour, not throw up, and survive? Coffee Man was the sacrificial lamb, ready to prove this one way or another, all for the prospect of the grand prize if he did. Initially, if each of the three did this, I was going to give them 1 bag apiece. But if Coffee Man did this challenge by himself, not 24 cups of coffee split between 3 people, which is only 8 cups, but like 24 whole cups by yourself in 1 hour, I upped the ante. I said, if you do this, I'm going to give you 2 bags of coffee. A short while later, but what undoubtedly felt like forever to Coffee Man, he finished his 3rd cup and was now just ready to get this over with. For his 4th cup, Coffee Man poured so much instant coffee into his cup, then the entire crowd erupted with excitement. Definitely didn't write that correctly. This 4th serving looked like hot asphalt in his cup. I knew for sure this would be the cup that would be Coffee Man's undoing. He only had 1 more cup to go if he finished this one based on the rate that he was going. Straight heaps of instant coffee in the cup. And it had only been 30 minutes. As Coffee Man drank this 4th disgusting cup, he sat on his bunk as he had done the entire time thus far and became absolutely still. Motionless. Aside from... Oh my God. I feel bad about this, but it is funny. Motionless aside from sporadic convulsions every so often. Can you imagine like being here and seeing this? Here's a guy who's trying to do this. He becomes deathly still, probably ill as well. He's just sitting there motionless every so often, just spazzing out. Through tremors that seemed to penetrate his entire being, he sat there focused. Prison Med took a quick check of Coffee Man's pulse and reported that his heart was indeed beating as fast as a rocket ship at warp speed. I really wish I could remember who the hell I'm talking about right here. I know we had a dude up in there nicknamed Bath Salt, but he hadn't been locked up for 20 years. And he was going to college to become a doctor. But that can't be who I'm talking about. And I'm sure it's no stretch of the imagination to imagine that Bath Salt was locked up because of the bath salts. Shit had fried his whole brain. This dude was in college to become a doctor, like Doogie Howser. And here he was in prison, dumb as a box of rocks or bath salts. Again, every so often, Coffee Man would take long measured spools of this toxic waste in his cup, and with every swig, the crowd became more excited. One of 2 things was certain at this point. He was either going to complete the challenge and win 2 bags of coffee, or he was going to fail by throwing up everywhere. Somehow, Coffee Man finished his 4th cup. At this point, his stomach had to be near nuclear. Amazing description right there. People even began rooting him on more now by saying, "What's your name? Who are you? Coffee Man!" Oh my God, that is hilarious to remember. That's right. That's what people were saying to him. "Coffee Man," he responded almost incoherently. The grand finale was upon us. Somehow he had reached his 5th and final cup. Folks, 24 cups of coffee per Keefy instant coffee bag. This man was about to do this in 5 cups. Can you imagine how strong those cups had to be? A sludgy mess at most, the rest before this hand had been. I know that makes no sense right there, and I need to explain to you like how I actually got this published. I would read what I wrote over the phone to a pen pal who typed this up and then published it. And prison phones, if you know, sometimes they can be staticky, it can be loud, it can be hard to hear. So that is definitely wrong, whatever that is. Okay, this was the cup that was going to do him in, I thought for sure now. There was no way he was going to make it through this last cup. It had only been 40 minutes And here he was, alive and well. Well, shaking and convulsing a little bit too, but nonetheless alive. And here at the end of this challenge with 20 minutes to spare at that. They didn't nickname this dude Coffee Man for nothing. Coffee Man downed his last cup in 10 minutes flat, one hellacious swig after another, until it was gone. 24 cups of coffee. This might have been a world record. But in order for this challenge to be a complete success, he still had to not throw up for another 10 minutes. And it was in that time that Coffee Man looked like he was having the most trouble. He became ghost white, sweating, convulsing, like an old car racing down the road. Gas pedal floored, shaking as it reached top speed and was trying even harder to exceed that. Well, I really thought that I was James Patterson. Coffee Man became unresponsive to the onslaught of questions that he'd been burdened with throughout the entire challenge. Now he just sat there, unable to hear anything, unable to respond even if he did. Still as a corpse. I bet you his ears were ringing. Straight bell ringer. A whole bag of coffee will do you up in an hour. Undoubtedly counting down each second of those final 10 minutes. Each minute must have seemed like an eternity. 10 minutes, 9 minutes, 8 minutes, and so on. Sweating, convulsing, shaking. 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 5. Was he going to lose it? He sure looked like he would at any minute now. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1. Oh, the hell with it, I said. You did it, Coffee Man. 1 bag, 1 hour by 1 man. It ought to be a challenge for real here on YouTube. And you didn't even throw up either. So you can go 1 minute early, I said. See, I'm not the devil. I do have a heart. I actually wrote that. Coffee Man got up a little gingerly, and he walked to the bathroom. The entire housing unit followed in tow. I didn't go. I didn't have the heart to do so. I didn't want to see what was about to take place in there. And immediately upon entering the restroom, he projectile vomited everywhere, violently, gut-wrenching spasms. Black tar exorcist like gushing streams of vomit, one right after another. I've never seen anything like this before. It was literally one of the most amazing things I have ever witnessed. Second maybe only to childbirth. That's actually a lie right there, because I didn't witness this. And I've never seen a child being born. Only on TV, and I can't watch that. After it was all said and done and Coffee Man had regained some of his composure, after his body so violently rejected the immense amount of coffee he had tried to consume, he told me that it was during his second cup where he felt like he most certainly was going to throw up. He drank 3 more cups after that, or possibly the equivalent of 15 regular cups more. How he made it through this challenge, I haven't the slightest idea, but he did. And because of that, he won an additional 2 bags of coffee. He also became something of a living legend here around the compound. All he lost in the process was his lunch, and also an entire night's sleep. The end. Oh, there's a little bit more on this. About the author? What? I'm Joe P. Guerrero, a 32-year-old incarcerated writer and artist. I was thinking a little much of myself, calling myself a writer. Who's been in prison for 6+ years for nonviolent drug offenses. I'm scheduled to be released this year in October, and I have huge aspirations that include getting my life back on track. Sadly, I've spent most of my adult life in and out of jail and prison, but I've reached a point very early into this prison sentence where I realized I need to do whatever it takes to fix my life. Every day I've worked as possibly hard, I think I meant to say impossibly. Every day I've worked impossibly hard at doing just that. To date, my accomplishments include cartoons that have been published in various magazines and newsletters. I've even had a cartoon and story published in a book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Reader's Choice 20th Anniversary Edition. That was a pretty big accomplishment. They paid me $150 for that. Some of my other accomplishments include a blog I started called Joe Writes Is Wrong, a blog I encourage you to check out and like if you please follow it. I'm also a mural painter here at the prison I have surely left a lasting impression on the walls here at this prison with the 20 plus murals I have painted on them. Damn, I did a lot of painting at that prison. Pictures of some of my work can be found at Joe Wrights Is Wrong. That's actually private, so you can't check that out. I'm thinking about turning that into a book. I've been thinking about that for like 5 years now. The funds raised through the sale of these ebooks will go directly towards helping me get my life back on track. They will help me to begin paying off the mountainous debt I owe in court fines that must be paid in order for me to obtain a driver's license. A driver's license is paramount to my success after release. Without a driver's license, my chances for succeeding are a lot less. Boy, I was really trying to sell this whole buy these books and help me get my license back. I paid over $15,000 in court fines to get my license back. I did that after I got released. Made a video about it too. Thank you for purchasing this short story. If you enjoyed it, please recommend it to someone else so that they might purchase it as well. More short stories and other content will soon be available on ebook, so be on the lookout because I have all sorts of other stuff to come. Thank you again, Joe P. Guerrero. Pretty powerful last little sentence that I said right there. I've got a lot more to come. I won't lie about that. Folks, I wanted to share this story with you guys, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, please leave a like and a comment on this video, letting me know exactly what you thought about it. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!